Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors news, and that's right, we have another Toronto Raptors news update, and this is a lot of transactions, a lot of movement happening with players. Masai Ujiri trying to get his guys paid and get up to the roster and fill out who will be the next crop of young prospects that the Toronto Raptors will be able to get their hands on and sort of mold inside their Toronto Raptors system. And a few moves have occurred. Now we finally get a few updates on Alex Antetokounmpo in this video, and Josh Hall, who we just recently made a video on. They've officially been signed and waived by the Toronto Raptors. So the Raptors did this because this gives them a little signing bonus, so they can go down to the 905. They get the exclusive rights. They don't have to go through any weird G League draft, and we get the rights to those guys. And this is what was expected. This is what we said about in the Hall video, and we expected in the Antetokounmpo video. We thought maybe he'd participate in a greater part of training camp. However, the Raptors just forgone that and said, we like what we have in Bonga, Decker, and Ishmael Wainwright, who unfortunately didn't end up making the cut, and they just straight up put Alex Antetokounmpo down to the G League. But now we've signed two more players, Riker, and it's looking like they might have the same fate. We have Ashton Hagans and Breen Tyree. I'm messing up the pronunciation. I'm giving myself the Charles Barkley name award or whatever we have there. But Riker, what are your thoughts on these two new signings and what the Raptors are sort of rolling out with Antetokounmpo and Josh Hall?
Well, let's break down the two new signings first, okay. Then we'll get into the other guys second. So it says, I don't know which tweet you just put on, I can't see the board or the screen, but one guy, I think it's Hagans, he's coming back from broken ankle. He played 2 games with Minnesota, I think last season. And then the other guy, Kyrie, he's coming back from an ACL. So 2 guys that have to overcome some injury rehabilitation, but show some promise, obviously, or else our scouts wouldn't have their eyes all over them in the hopes that they're going to develop into something. Let's go with Hagans first. Let me see. Yes, Ashton Hagans first, a Kentucky product, proper point guard, pass first, 6'3", a little bit outside what we've been going with lately, which is 6'7" and above, right? But from all of the scouting reports that I'm reading, this guy's a proper pass first point guard with not much of a jump shot yet, not much of an ability to break somebody down one-on-one. He's very much a pick and roll pass first point guard. So not sure how he'd fit in with the Raptors or cracking a Raptors roster in the future, but an interesting signing nonetheless, Ben.
Yeah, and you alluded to the stats. I got it there on the board. Not the most exciting box score from his couple games at the Minnesota Timberwolves last season. Zeros all across the board and 0.5 turnovers. So it's definitely not a polished player, not a guy that's ready to go in a league. And even on a bad Timberwolves team, didn't even get a little bit of run that last season. Didn't get a bucket. So, but however,
I only played 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's not a big sample size by any means, but those creators, those types of guys, they're coming in. Obviously, the Toronto Raptors, they love developing those point guards. Obviously, we have Morgan in the 905 for a while, so he needs to be replaced. He's moving on to new endeavors. So it's nice for the 905 to get that there. Before we dive in to the next guy, Riker, do you think he has any shot at making the roster this season, making his way up, or?
No, because if I read the scouting report, it's not very good. Often unsure when to look for his own offense at the detriment of his team, uncertain when to shoot, lives outside of the 3-point line, turnover prone, takes too many jump shots. There's a lot of criticisms, but what is promising is he's a very good defender. He can get in the passing lanes. He has good court vision. So, development project, but not in the next year or two.
Long term and hope you strike gold. That's the big thing with Hagans there. And then next guy, as brought up, coming back from another injury, he's a former 905 player. So dealt with some injuries last season. I tried to pull up the G League stats, and there wasn't much there. Just didn't get that much run with the team, just dealing with injuries and all these sorts of things. But in college, looked like a promising three-point shooter, around 35% from the three-point line. Stats improves, played at Ole Miss, so probably overlapped with Terrence Davis, former Toronto Raptor, who is showing out for the Sacramento Kings in preseason right now. So hopefully he finds his footing in the league, gets some buckets as we know he can. See if consistency is a big thing with him. But, 19 points per game, another smaller guard, Riker. Are you more excited about this signing here?
Yes, because he improved his game every season in college.
Yep.
Like you said, final season averaging almost 20 points, actually, 19.7.
Yep.
And a bit of everything on the court. Steals, couple assists, handful of rebounds. So he's only a 6'2 guy. I assume he's more of a shooting guard, but he could probably turn into more of a point guard. Depends on his handles. Didn't have time to watch any of his tapes before this video, but we'll see what happens. I am more excited, more intrigued about a guy that has a little bit better offensive potential because we have creators, right? We have Fred VanVleet, we have Banton, who's going to come up through. We have Scotty Barnes, who's looking like Magic Johnson. I said it last time. I think we'll see that throughout the whole season now with the dimes, with the facilitation, but it's always been the issue with the Raptors, is scoring, particularly off the bench. So a person who's already a little bit more polished, closer to making the roster, getting on the court, that's what's exciting to me.
Yeah, and formerly played in the 905. Hopefully he recovers from that ACL injury pretty quickly, but we want to break down those signings just as because the Raptors make transactions, we got to cover it. But I think in this video, the most exciting name, and we did a whole video on him, is Alex Antetokounmpo. And obviously the roster positions, they've been battled through now, and I think Antetokounmpo is at least the biggest name out of the new crop of G Leaguers we have being brought in. And Riker, now with Ishmael Wainwright, and we know Ishmael Wainwright waived, and we know how the roster will look for the Toronto Raptors this season, assuming nothing crazy happens and Masai Ujiri follows through with the Exhibit 10, sign and waive and put into the G League with all these guys. Who do you think out of this crop is the most likely to, maybe not even this year, but long-term, find their footing on the main roster? Because I think long-term you have to go with Alex Antetokounmpo just because of his promise, his potential. Giannis was always saying that he was going to be the best one in the family, the most potential guy. So if we're living to Giannis's word, we got to pick him up at some point. Would you lean Antetokounmpo, Josh Hall, or one of the new guys?
You want to put your chips into Alex Antetokounmpo because of his brothers, the reigning MVP, DPOY, whatever, all the NBA champion. He has all of the accolades. And if he's saying this, whether it's just advocating for his family so they all get an NBA contract at some point, they all get paid, that's fair enough. But the youngest, he's supposedly among the more athletic of the Antetokounmpo brothers. I'm reading Nick Nurse's quote right now from looking at them at 905 practice. He's saying they look okay out there. They're trying hard to learn the stuff. They move good. They're both good athletes. They're probably going to be enrolled. This is the key part. In shooting school at some point later today, they'll be at the shooting. So I think that's probably going to be the key piece that either holds him back from making an NBA roster or allows him to thrive, is if he can take that hitch out of his shot, same way that his older brother Giannis had to over many seasons, and then obviously relied on his athleticism, his length, his size, everything to become one of the greatest players in the NBA. So whether Alex can go down that same path, it's unsure, but it's nice that we have him because we know what the Raptors development team can do.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. It's going to be an exciting year, not only for the main roster, but looking at these G League guys, seeing how they develop and stuff. People have been asking us to cover more G League content. Obviously, you and I haven't followed it that closely over the past few years, but this year, we'll keep a closer eye onto it, just because, when you play the Kazoos for a whole season, you got to at least check out your young players and make sure that they're coming up and developing. But you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. You can become a channel member right now. I'm not sure when this video is getting released, but we may have done, but we'll likely be doing the Fantasy League draft coming up live, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. If it's going live later, it's coming out then. We don't know the schedule of these videos, but if you feel like you missed the boat on the Fantasy League, don't worry, you can still become a channel member and lots of fun stuff coming. We're trying to get very creative with the ideas to engage not only the channel members, but everyone on the Raptors Digest. But it's just easier to manage things with the memberships and the communication, all those sorts of stuff.
Especially when there's limited
flying out.
Especially, I'll just jump in, especially when there's limited amount that can play in the inaugural season. So what I've been saying to people on the waiting list, we'll be expanding into next season. probably having multiple leagues at once, and then maybe the top couple winners can do some sort of Champions League is how we'll think. But Ben said it already. We're scoping other events that we can host online, in person, whatever, throughout the regular season. So keep watching, stay subscribed, be a channel member, all of that good stuff. Ben, sign us off.
For sure. And check out the merch too. Neither of us are rocking the merch right now, but you know, we wear it so much. It's too much, you know? But you guys are the best. Anyways, we're signing off. Sound us off, Riker.
Cheers.